right, we are back. It is week two of our show, I guess you can say. And, it's definitely a fun time. Training camps are officially open now. Veterans and rookies are reporting. There's already been some news that's starting to filter in, some good, some bad. We'll tackle as much as we can right now. As always, I am here with my guys, Steve and Joe. Boys, how you guys doing today? How's your work weeks going?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Not too bad, man.
Lovely. Lovely. We're surviving the all the elements here, no matter where we are. So some of those big things those notable things, I guess you could say, with news was how certain players were reacting. Now one of those was, and I'm going to be a homer first, talking about the Giants, Malik Neighbors. Everybody remembers he got severely injured last year, in Dart's first game. And then out in May, roughly May, June, there was a report that he came out with a second surgery, which was more of a cleanup procedure. But everybody was like, oh, we don't know if he's ready or anything like that. Well, reports came in. He's cutting, he's doing individual drills, and he's on track to play week one. He's not going on the pup. Now, that being said, he may not play this preseason. That's different, and that's understandable. Because you want to keep him healthy for the season. But he is definitely on track to play, and Harbaugh saying he's looking good. On the flip side, Esteban, our friend Bonnie over here, who's a big Ricky Pearsall fan, is still dealing with a PCL injury, and there is reports he may actually start the season on the pup, which means that he'll miss about the first 6 weeks of the season, month and a half, essentially. The same also has been declared for, and I am drawing a blank on the defensive end for Green Bay. Who's the
Parsons,
thank you,
right?
Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons has already been announced that he's on the pup list. And I can tell you right now that dumpster fire that is called Green Bay, if I could do another bold prediction, it is them not making the playoffs this year. I could tell you that they will not finish. I'll even say they won't finish above 500 this year. They'll be a top five pick. They'll be that bad because they got nobody. Micah Parsons was their defense, and without him, they're nothing. And then, there's others.
Wait, you think the Cowboys are going to finish like
No,
really badly?
Packers,
Oh, Packers.
Packers. Yes. And then
Wow.
Shamir Stewart from the Bengals came out. He got a gruesome injury during practice today, and it looks like, I mean, he was carted off. And if you saw the replay or the photo of it, his leg, he's going one way and his leg is bending the opposite way. Like I would not be shocked if when the report comes out, he's out for the year. And again, we're recording this on Wednesday, so there's no real news about it yet. And of course, as camp filters on, there's going to be more news. We'll be looking forward to all those training battles. Like for example, the Cardinals, who's taking the first team reps? How is their offense going to be broken down, especially in those running backs where there are about 4 or 5 running backs. Now I see some of those getting cut or maybe a trade happening, but that's happening. And again, if I'm going to go back to being a homer of a Giants fan, what's happening with that wide receiver group? Because we know Neighbors is slotted for that one. Who's filtering out those wide receivers? In the running back, let's say in Kansas City, or not even Kansas City. Let's even talk about Detroit. We know Gibbs is slotted for one, but where does Isaiah Pacheco fit into that? Because he's not David Montgomery. He's not that Sonic and Knuckles kind of deal. So it's curious to see how everything's going to filter out. Ray Rice, how is he going to filter out after he had that knee injury, and now he didn't have to rehab because he was in jail. So we'll see how that filters out this preseason. But Patrick Mahomes is good to go. Apparently, he's practicing not on the pup, and he's slated to start week one, which is a nice thing to see. But we're talking about a bunch of players, and the one thing that we all talk about, we always talk about players we love, players we can't draft. But you know what? We don't want to do the tiers. Everybody's doing the tiers. Let's be different. So let's talk about players who we are fading right now going into this season. And we're basing this off of Yahoo's current ADP draft as of basically July 29th. So there's a lot more drafting. Everything's going to change, especially when the preseason games start rolling around and everybody's changing that. So, Joe, who is your number one player you are fading this year.
Well, it's funny because I love to doom scroll on Instagram on a daily basis, and my algorithm keeps showing me these fantasy football guys talking about people you should fade, sleepers, top QBs, top whatever. And I might just roll my eyes because I feel like they're just pulling stuff sometimes out of the sky. But one who you've already mentioned, I feel like to me, it's very obvious. He's my top guy to fade, would be Malik Neighbors. Um, I think he is, and this is just a personal opinion. This is not based on statistics or any kind of fact. I think he's kind of overrated. I think his the hype around him is a little too much, and I just don't like that when it comes to fantasy. And he's still hurt. I don't care what the reports are out of New York are coming. They got to report something positive because if they report another negative thing, it's just like a circus at that point. So honestly, he's someone who I don't want to touch. And overall, I don't want to touch the Giants, but he's the first guy I'm fading.
So right now, Malik Neighbors is slated to be, according to Yahoo ADP, at third pick 34.6. So it's 34, 35. He's rumored to be basically a third rounder in a 12-team standard or at the end of the third round, fourth round. In our league, he would be, considered a early to mid third rounder. Steve, how do you feel about that with Malik Neighbors as one of Joe's fade?
I think that's a good call by Joe. I also think that Neighbors is overrated. We live in like Giants country, so everybody is such a hardcore Giants fan, and they like give extra to these Giants guys. So I actually have another Giant as someone to fade. I have two Giants besides Neighbors to fade. I
Well,
don't
we'll,
know if
we'll
you want
get
me
to
to touch
those.
on that now or later, but no, I agree with Joe. I don't think Neighbors is the best pick, and I actually like Mooney, who's been added to the Giants, and he's been proven to make plays. He can catch deep balls. And Slayton, I think Mooney can do what Slayton does a little better than how Slayton does it. So I think he's a huge discount. You don't need to waste like a first round pick. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like
And you
fade
know what I should
neighbors. Yeah,
say?
fade neighbors.
And I should say too, to add on to that, because he's projected to go in like the third round. In the third round, I would rather have Waddle or Christian Watson. I would not want Neighbors.
Okay. I'm cautious with Neighbors. I agree, and being a Giants fan, I don't want him. I don't like drafting players who I am like a fan of. I would like to enjoy those games as a fan, as opposed to that, even if they're going against them. Um, I will say on the pro side of Neighbors, while I'm against that, what you're saying, who else is catching the ball for the Giants outside of Malik? And the way that Matt Nagy's offense, it's a lot of short passes. It's a West Coast offense. So a lot of short passes, a lot of crossing routes, which is basically a catch and run, which is Malik Neighbors' strength. Yes, he can catch the deep ball, but when you do have a Mooney or you do have a bunch of, whoever the Giants you want to throw in there as the deep ball guy, not only is Malik Neighbors, eventually when he does come back into form, it will, if he misses the preseason, I'm sure it'll take a few weeks to him to go in there, kind of how AJ Brown was at the beginning of last season. But let's also not forget the key thing. Wandell Robinson and all of his catches and all of his targets from last year are gone. Now, granted, Malik Neighbors was hurt, so somebody had to throw it. But there is a massive amount of targets that are open that probably a majority of them, not all of them, but a majority will go Malik Neighbors' way. So, as the third rounder, sure, I can see why people would fade him, especially with the injury, and if he doesn't play or if he has any kind of setback, that makes sense. Um, but I'm gonna disagree with you slightly, while I also agree with you on that.
Well, here's the thing. You just said Nagy, he likes to have an offense where guys do like quick drag routes or whatever.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the personnel for that right now. If he had Neighbors healthy, he would, but Slayton is not really going to do that. Neither really is Mooney. Those
Slayton's
guys
out
are
injured.
more like
Slayton, I won't be surprised if Slayton's on the pup. And honestly, you can't rely on Slayton for anything. They
the
gave him a
one guy
contract
that they
for
could
him not
use for
catching
those
deep balls.
drags was that
It
guy that
doesn't
you
matter.
mentioned they traded to the Titans. So I
Wandell,
don't know
no,
what
he
they're going
left
to do.
via free agency. He didn't get traded. He left for
Oh,
free agency.
okay. All right.
It doesn't matter. Dart's going to get knocked out by midseason anyway.
Possibly. It's all right. We got Jameson Winston. Or Jameis Winston, excuse me, not
Oh
Jameson.
yeah,
That's
he's
true.
pretty
That
good.
is a very solid point. Yeah, I love Jameis.
Everybody
Winston
does.
Winston will just chuck it to him regardless. He won't even care. He'll have fun doing it too. All right, Steve, who is your top guy you are fading this this what's it called?
All right,
This
my
season.
number one fade is Luther Burden, who I don't know where he is in the draft position, but he's ranked number 23 among wide receivers. He's still second fiddle to Rome Odunze. And the Bears do have Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland. So they have a lot of mouths to feed. And I don't know how the fuck Luther Burden got ranked above Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze and Caleb are boys. So my opinion would be fade Luther Burden, take Rome, or take, just take someone else around that draft position. Like Burden is, I think he's getting too much hype right now.
So Luther Burden is being drafted according to Yahoo at 57.8. So he's pretty much that fifth rounder right there. But 100% agree with you on everything you said. I can't even argue with that. The hype is for Luther because of what he did at the end of last season, which is a lot. He did really well. He was the number one. I think Rome was also hurt, which kind of put him as the decoy or he didn't play. But as you pointed out, Caleb and Roma Dunze have been boys since they got drafted. They trained last season. As soon as they got drafted, they started communicating and started building a chemistry that when two young guys are doing and you build that chemistry, it's done. And again, let's go back to the Giants because Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterville, say what you want about their players on this, but the relationship and the chemistry they have is not something that you can be forced upon. It has to be something that's gradually just naturally happened. And Caleb Williams and Roman Dunze actually has that. What do you think, Joe?
uh, I agree, but I think I disagree a little bit more. Um, and the reason being is I really, really like the Bears this year. When I look at their division, I don't really feel like anyone's, maybe the Lions will challenge them a little bit this year, but I don't think anyone's going to challenge them. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. And although they have a lot of guys to get the ball to, they're going to be able to do it. And I think they're going to run the score up in a lot of games. And I think the person that gets hurt the most in that Bears offense, but again, this is just my opinion, is the running back. And I think all of the receivers that they have, whether this tight end or wide receiver, they're going to get the chunk of the looks. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, I wouldn't be reaching for Burden, but I don't think he's going to be as bad as you may think he may be.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying, but what we're saying is we're not saying any of these players. Like we're not saying Malik Neighbors is bad. We're not saying Malik Neighbors can't finish as a top 10 wide receiver. But we're saying as his current draft position, you maybe don't want to get him, or you can wait a few rounds if he's available. You maybe there's a better option in that area.
That's fair.
So for me, my first fade, and I mentioned him at length, or not really length, but I mentioned him as one of my sixes, and that is Jackson Smith Najigba, JSN. He was not going to be a top 12 wide receiver, which means as low hanging fruit as this is, I am fading him with the six overall as he's being drafted right now at Yahoo. And again, it's not saying he's going to be bad, but Clint Kubiak is gone. Kenneth Walker's gone. Charbonnet is actually back, is apparently back at practice, and he's on slate to play week 1, which is kind of good and helps him out. But I think a lot of the magic that happened to the Seahawks last year is not going to be replicated. And I think that the way that they're going to be, because Charbonnet does have a major injury risk, and he's coming off a major injury that he got on this in the Super Bowl in the playoffs, is defenses I think are going to kind of like really kind of take JSN out of the game because now they have a full season to really scheme up and defend him, that he's not going to be able to do what he did last season. And now I'm not saying, he could prove me absolutely wrong, and I will admit if he pulls it off and I'm wrong. But I cannot see a 6th round value. I'd rather take Amon Ra. I'd rather take CeeDee Lamb. I'd rather take James Cook, Justin Jefferson, Genty. I would rather take any of those guys in the first round over JSN.
Yeah, I would actually agree with you. And I am one of those people who are not afraid to grab a guy who's projected like 3rd round and draft him in the first because I think they're going to be good, and vice versa. I mean, JSN, I mean, if you're staring at me in like the 2nd or 3rd round, sure. I'm not going to take him in the first round.
Absolutely, yeah. I won't take him in the first, but if he's there at the end of the second round or wherever he is, or even if he's the third, absolutely. I don't see him going that. I'm sure in our league at 14 teamer, he's going quick, and I'm sure people in other leagues will probably grab him anyway. But yeah, I agree with that. What do you think,
Yeah,
Steve?
I'd have to say that I don't think he's going to be outside the top 12 wide receivers, but I do agree that I probably wouldn't take him in the first round.
Simple and easy as that one.
Yeah.
Joe, who's your next guy?
The next guy, I think I'm going to ruffle your feathers with, Big Boss Man. It's actually I have two guys from this team. I don't know. Do you want me to just do the one individual guy?
Do the one. I know who you want to say, and it's the one I would like to hear the most about on
Yeah,
this one.
Ashton Jonty. Um, I first of all, I think I made it clear last week. I'm not really big on the Raiders this year. Everyone seems to be on the Raiders. That really has me being contrarian to it. I always veer away from guys or teams that people are so high on because I feel like that's always burnt me in the past. And this is what it's falling. It's almost like a trap to me. Everyone thinks he's going to end up being the number one running back by the end of the season. They have all these tools, but everyone keeps forgetting that they have a rookie QB, right? And I know everyone's always high on rookie QBs, especially in over the last like 10 years or so, 15 years or so. You know what? I am not. I think the Raiders are going to be highly overrated, and I would rather choose Kenneth Walker, or more specifically, someone like James Cook over Jaunty. I really am like, again, if I'm in the 2nd round and he's there, I'd take him, right? Because he's going to be decent. I don't think he's worth that high of a pick. I think people are going to overreach for him and expecting him to be the number one running back at the end of the year.
Okay. What do you think, Steve?
Uh, well, Joe, one thing, I'm pretty sure Kirk Cousins is going to be the QB for the Raiders. Um,
Mendoza's not
so
going to start?
no, I don't think he is. I think he's sitting in Captain Kirk as the starter. But
They
the
brought
weird
they
thing
brought in
is
Kirk Cousins, I think, also to start the season as the quarterback while Mendoza learns, and also, I don't think everybody's high on them because I think it's Clint Kubiak who came off the Super Bowl, and I think there's a lot of excitement around the team. But I
I think
think
that's
it
going to
is
hurt
Kirk.
them if they're playing a hot potato with the QB. I think that's going to hurt him even more. That
the
actually,
thing that's
no way.
the thing that's weird to me is like I don't think I've ever seen the Raiders be good. It's like almost like the Jets. Like the Jets and the Raiders are kind of similar. So like if they are good, it's gonna be weird to see. Uh but I'm kind of high on Janty this year. And it could be because I'm kind of just like bombarded, like you say. Everyone's fucking high on the Raiders.
Mhm.
Um so I mean, I don't know. I like Kirk Cousins. I do. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I guess we'll see. If Jonty's looking at me late in the first, I'm probably taking him. Not gonna lie.
You know what? I'm giving advice right now. By week 5, I'm going to be denying everything most likely.
Don't worry, we got proof. We got video evidence. We got the receipts. No, I'm 100% with Steve on this one. I think you're insane. And I do think Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback, which means there's no pressure. But you also got to remember something. Let's look at this team. Don't look at the players, but look at the organization. You're talking about Mendoza as a rookie quarterback. Who is an owner of the Raiders? Tom Brady. Probably, if not the greatest quarterback and greatest player who's ever played in NFL. So you've got him as a owner who can actually talk to the player. You've got Clint Kubiak, who is actually a great coach. Look what he did with Kenneth Walker again last season, 2 years ago. Look what he did with Alvin Kamara. He got Rick Dennison, his line coach. And let me just throw this at you, Joe. Genti finished last season the 11th best running back in fantasy with a horrible offensive line. They got in free agency, among everything on the defense side. On the offense side, they got a lot of key players. One of the guys they got was Lindenbaum from the Ravens, the center. So the guy, a veteran presence at the center, who has been in the league very long time, very respected, probably one of the top in his position, that can help point out and help walk that through. Their offensive line is going to be absolutely insane. Now, am I saying they're going to be a playoff team and they're going to the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. That division is insanely hard. I think they will get maybe 7 wins at best out of that thing. But I think the excitement in fantasy wise for all these players between Brock Bowers, between Genti, I think they're going to be a lot better than they think. So I'm 100% against you on that one. On that
Uh,
one, in my
yeah, I
opinion.
mean, you made some points about one of them being, they've got Tom Brady running the show. I mean, Michael Jordan owned a portion of the Hornets, right? I mean, that means nothing to me. I'm still
Isn't
fine.
Brady like a 1% owner? Doesn't that guy with a bad
He's
haircut
he's
own
minority,
Raiders?
but what the
The bowl cut.
agreement the
Yeah.
agreement is no, but here's the thing. The agreement is that, and they already have this in place, that when Al David or when Davis retires, dies, whatever they're doing, Tom Brady's ownership group, that he's minority owner, takes full control of the team. So he's going to actually go from minority to majority owner of that, or the investment group is.
All right.
So yeah, you're saying thumbs down. So let me give you my second fade, and I'm going at the tight end position, and I kind of mentioned him last week, but it is Trey McBride. Right now, he is being the second tight end off the board. ADP is 23.4. Now, if you remember from last week's edition, I flat out mentioned that the numbers he produced last year are those were just the situation of habits. I mean, nobody did. But Harrison's back, and then Wilson's there. They got Jeremiah Love. More importantly, the OC, who was a tight end friendly OC, is now in Detroit. So I don't think that he's going to produce anywhere numbers. And the reason why his numbers are good, he finally scored touchdowns. He scored 8 touchdowns last year. Previous couple of years, it was 1 or 2. I think this year it's going to regress back to that 1 or 2. And, those outliers. I think catches, I think they'll be pretty good. I think he'll be up there. I think he still will be a top 5 guy. But if I am using a second round pick on Trey McBride and, and I'm passing up the likes of AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, you know, Nico Collins, Kenneth Walker, like I rather wait because I think the tight end, it's really Brock Bowers and then everything else, and it's all a crapshoot. So why waste a second round pick or a late second, early third, however you want to look at it, for a guy who, yeah, should get you catches, but don't expect the production that he had from anywhere last year. Steve, how do you feel? Because Trey's your guy. Like I know you said there's you're not looking at him this year. You mentioned that last week, but he's your guy.
Well, he has been my guy for the last like 2 years, and he has served me very well, like every time I drafted him. But I kind of agree. Like this year, I'm not super sure about Trey. I don't know if I agree with every point that you made, but I just I he was one of the exceptions I made for drafting guys on bad teams. I don't like to usually do that, but I made that exception for him, and I think I'm not going to do that anymore. I try to fade bad teams.
How about you, Joe?
No, I agree with you. Actually, I'm not. I wouldn't really touch Trey McBride. What is he? Would you say he was projecting the second round? Um,
23rd. Yeah,
I would take,
23rd, 24th overall.
I would take him in the fifth, maybe the sixth. I'm not
He
going.
won't be there in the fifth or sixth.
I know. I agree. He won't be there, but if somehow he was
But
staring,
there's other picks I
at
think that are
then
just as
I
good.
take him.
Absolutely. All right. We're gonna time for one more. So, Joe, who's your third guy?
But what about my second guy?
Oh, who's your second guy? So I thought we did your second guy. Shit, my
No,
bad.
we did. Who's my second guy then?
I have no idea. All right, who's your second guy?
The Scat Man, who's Scattaboo, who's ranked 18 for running backs. The point I made about Trey is kind of the same thing. I think the Giants are going to suck this year, kind of like the Cardinals. And I don't like guys on shitty teams. And Scatman is a good player, but I think he's like one of those guys where you can't really feature as an offensive weapon. So like I don't think he's got the skills to like pull it off on a bad team. Uh, Tracy is still there, and he's not bad. He's gonna spell Scatman. Scatman is a little crazy, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got injured again just from doing wild things, maybe even off the freaking field. Uh, and
Like
there's
doing a
guys that
flip at
are
FanFest coming off a knee or a foot leg injury.
yeah, and there's guys right around that are available after him, ranked later than him, like David Montgomery, who are proven and on good teams. And I just think it's a better situation. Take someone like Montgomery over Scatterboo.
Absolutely. What do you say, Joe?
Yeah, I agree with him. I'm not. I wouldn't draft him at all. Actually, there's so many guys I would take over him, and I just don't. Like Steve said, you can't trust him on or off the field. So I wouldn't want that liability.
Absolutely. I don't know if I could actually trust them on that one. There is a lot of injury risk on that, and he just leads. He looks for contact, I guess you can say. So it kind of you don't want that from a running back. I don't need a
Not for
running
him.
back that wants to slam his head in a brick wall just for the fun of it to get himself hyped up. That
The funny
just
thing is, Jackson Dart's like just like that too, kind of. They're like the Bash brothers, like straight up.
yes.
Jackson Dart will lead with his head also, and that's why he's
Well,
probably going
hopefully
to be out by
hopefully
week 5.
Harbaugh will teach him how to slide and to not avoid these hits. All right, Joe. Who's your third guy? Now we can get to your third guy.
All right. Um, my third guy. Do you want my third guy to be the other Raider or the fourth guy I had previously mentioned before this? Just because I think we had some duplicates.
Do the duplicate.
Okay.
Yeah,
George Pickens. And I love George Pickens. I've been screaming about George Pickens for the last 2 years, and he's been an absolute stud. But I usually, again, I think I touched upon this earlier. I don't like guys who everyone's on top of right now, and he's one of those guys that people have pivoted towards because they've seen what he's done the last 2 years, they've definitely it was solidified with his position in Dallas. But I mean, I honestly would prefer an Ibuka, Rashi Rice. Or even a Zay Flowers over him this year. I don't think he's going to have as big of a year as he had last year because I think CeeDee Lamb is going to have a better year than he had last year. And I think that's going to take away from a lot of the production that Pickens has we normally saw from him the last couple of years.
Okay. What do you think, Steve?
yeah,
I know
I
because
I agree
he
with
was on your list as well.
I completely 100% agree with Joe. And then just to like add a little more, George Pickens is good. Don't get me wrong. He's got the skills. He can bowl. And he showed it in Pittsburgh and he showed it in Dallas. The problem is he's a wide receiver one trapped in a wide receiver two position. In Pittsburgh, I don't know how the fuck they put him as the two behind Deontay Johnson because he was better than him the entire time. But they did that and they targeted Johnson way more. In Dallas, let's be real, it's CD's team. CD's going to get probably three times as many targets as Pickens. And that is the reason I would fade Pickens. I can't believe he's ranked as a top 10 receiver. And like I said, it's not because I don't think he's good and I don't think he can play. It's just because he's not going to get the targets and he's not going to get the touchdown targets. Like it's all going to go to CD for the most part. So if CD gets hurt, Pickens is going to be a fucking baller. But I mean, you're hoping for an injury, and CD really he doesn't get hurt that often.
Yeah, I mean, I like guys who are playing for contracts, um, especially because he's on the franchise tag, so um, he's still a contact or contract player. So I like that a lot. But I agree. I don't think I would take him in, the end of the second round, as one of those guys. Personally, I think I'd rather take, Devonta or AJ, or Nico as three wide receivers ahead of him. Because he also, I feel like he's going to have that meltdown that we've been waiting for this year. But I agree with you guys. I'll take him a little bit later. Steve, who's your third guy?
Third guy was Jackson Dart, ranked number 11 for quarterbacks. I just think he's going to get hurt. I think the Giants are kind of trash. So I think you're better off with going with a guy like Bo Nix, who's ranked later. Bo Nix has Waddle, who's been added to the offense. So now he can throw to Waddle, he can throw to Sutton. He's got Mims as a third wide receiver. He's got two reliable backs. He's just in a way better situation, and I think he's a smarter runner than Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart, I mean, nothing against him. It's just I think he's a bad decision maker versus like his ability. I think he's got good ability, but his decisions put him in a jam. His health. I mean, he's just going to hurt himself with all these tackles. But that's who I had. I had Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's frustrating as a Giants fan, especially with him constantly getting hit. And if he can't stay healthy, it's uh it's definitely a problem for him this season. But yeah, I mean I'm not gonna fade him, but I may not if he falls, I guess, to that right round for me. If I need a quarterback, I may grab him, but I don't think I'm going out of my way to draft the guy. What do you say, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I've already mentioned enough times with the Giants. I'm not a fan of Jackson Dart. I would fade him. There's a ton of guys. Steve's idea of drafting Bo Nix over him, yeah, 10 times out of 10, I would do that. I really like the Broncos as a whole, and Bo Nix is a good part of that. So there's so many better options over Jackson Dart. Um, yeah, I would, and the funny thing is, I think it's important to talk about Jackson Dart because we have so many Homer Giant fans in our league
We do.
that people are going to reach for him. I'd say fourth round, maybe. I don't know. That's going to be my guess. Definitely by the fifth. And that is for me, that is not worth a
That
draft.
is insane if they take him in
You
like the
know,
fifth round.
Sal
It'll
or
probably happen.
Buster,
No,
or
it's gonna be Fluster. Fluster's
someone's
going
going to
to
reach for him.
Zach's
yeah.
gonna go early on Malik. Zach always gets Malik, and then
Um,
I think one of his friends is big on Malik as
didn't Fluster
well.
have Malik, Scadaboo, and Dart? Or
No,
no?
that was Sal had Dart. Neighbors was on somebody else's team, and Zach, I think, no, or Zach got somebody. I don't remember how Zach had Scattaboo. That's what it was. They were split up, but
Scat and
usually Zach
neighbors.
will go after Neighbors. Absolutely. Now, you guys both mentioned Bo Nix, so that's going to bring me to my third fade, and my third fade is actually Jalen Waddle. Nothing against Jalen Waddle, but he comes to them and he was a warm weather guy who has soft tissue injuries history on a team with a coach that's so out of whack. Like, if I could put in like RJ Harvey or any of the Denver running backs, I would avoid them like the fucking plague. Because you just don't know what's going on with Sean Payton's mind. But everybody seems to forget Cortland Sutton is there, and he's the number one wide receiver. Jalen Waddle's that flashy name because what he did with Tariq Hill, what he did in Miami in that poor offense, but he doesn't have the rapport that Cortland Sutton and Bo Nix have. And what has Cortland Sutton done over these last several years? Everybody just hates him for some reason, but he produces every year. He produces as a wide receiver too every single year. And I don't feel like I need to draft. Where is he? He's Jalen Waddle. He's down there. He's pick 47, where Cortland Sutton, who's going to put up better numbers, is being drafted around pick 100. So I'd rather take the pick 100 guy at better value than I would at him. Joe, you're shaking your head. What's going
Yeah,
on?
I couldn't disagree. I disagree with that completely. Waddle has survived as a wonderful number two in Miami. And not only was he a wonderful number two, and at most times put up number one fantasy points, he had a quarterback who people would say isn't as accurate or isn't as good as Bo Nix, and he was doing that with Tua. And Waddle, you know what? Even as the number two in Denver, I would take Jalen Waddle over Malik Neighbors. I disagree with you completely, and I disagree with those rankings. But no, Waddle is someone who is definitely on my personal radar.
Harris?
Um, I don't I don't think I'd draft either of those wide receivers from Denver. I feel like the only guy from Denver I'd really want is maybe Bo Nix or JK Dobbins. I know probably both of you don't like that, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like Bo Nix is the type of guy who's going to go to whoever's open as opposed to like who's the best player. I think Waddle is probably the best player, but Bo Nix is just going to go to like through his progressions and pick who's open. So because of that, you know, I probably wouldn't go with Waddle.
Listen, I would take this a step further. If I could have Waddle and Sutton and stack them on my team, I would.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying again. This is me. I don't like where he's being drafted, especially in relation to Sutton. Like if they were maybe a round or two apart, okay, that's fine and that's tolerable. Maybe if Sutton was up higher, but the fact that there's essentially 50 picks between these two guys, especially for a guy who has produced year over year over year over a guy who just came in via trade, who has zero rapport with the quarterback, who's coming off an injury, it's just shocking a little bit. So that's where I am. That's where my issue is. I guess I could say it's more. It's not Waddle the player. It's where Waddle is being drafted in relation to Sutton is why I am fading. Even though I would do like Sutton over Waddle on that one. All right, so those are our fades. We do have a few more, and maybe we'll just drop them in the comments section. Who else we hate, and you guys can comment about that. Speaking of that, the YouTube channel, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. We definitely want to grow this thing out as big as we can. We like having fun doing this every single week. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying what we are producing, especially how we can get it, enhance it and make it better as time goes along on that one. So last week I did my six, which would basically was my bold predictions of this season. And as we're talking about ADP and players we're fading on, it's interesting to know what sleepers some of us are thinking, and everybody's got their own little mind of sleepers. Um, and Joe had a great list that he wanted to do for his six sleepers. So Joe, I'm going to leave this for you. So you can start off, and we're gonna speed this up this week. So we'll rotate. You're gonna drop who you say, why, and then we're gonna let me and Steve jump in, and we'll each have something to say, or we'll rotate. So
Yeah,
go ahead, Joe.
no problem. We can do a little rapid fire session here.
I like that.
Um, with the six here, I'm doing sleepers slash guys who we could stash because in our league in particular, we have a much bigger league with 14 guys, and so we're gonna have to go a little deeper than we normally have. And so a lot of guys that we draft are probably going to be dropped for other guys. But if you're smart, you'd be able to draft and hold on to some of those guys. And some of those names are, and I'll start with number six, Cooper Kupp. Now, Cooper Kupp had a terrible season last year. But Cooper Kupp, everyone knows who Cooper Kupp is. Everyone knows what he can do. Yes, he's older. Yes, he's probably lost a step. But to your point earlier about JSN, they're going to be, I think he's coming back healthy. I think they're going to need that second receiver to step up because people are going to concentrate in on JSN. So I like Cooper Kupp as a sleeper slash stash play.
To remind you, Joe, your boy is the wide receiver too, probably on that team now. I forget his freaking name. That speedster from New Orleans. Ah,
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
Rashid Shaheed, who got
Yeah,
paid.
Shaheed, and
it
he's
doesn't
going to be
matter.
very involved. They're going to involve him.
You know what? I think Cooper Kupp may end up by the end of the year being that number two receiver because Shaheed is great. He has one-off weeks where he puts up like 20, 30 points, and then he'll give you three straight weeks of like 3 or 4 points. So
Yeah,
I think consistently overall, Cooper Kupp's the better play.
Cooper
yeah,
Kupp
I
is the
agree.
slot guy. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I really can't argue too much with that. I do agree. I think that Cup, even with Shaheed there, they're going to use Shaheed more as like a stretching the field, and JSN and Cup are going to be like the possession guys. I could see, and while Cup is not Cooper Cup from like 5 years ago, he still has his hands and he does know how to play the game. He's got like high football IQ. So I think he's still going to be effective.
Absolutely. Who you got number five, Joe?
Number five, we're staying with the Seattle Seahawks. AJ Barner. AJ Barner last year had 500 yards. He had six touchdowns, and he he's going to end up being uh, more of a target than say what we just mentioned Shaheed. So I could see Cooper Kupp by the end of the year, but also AJ Barner moving up that the ladder of who Darnold is going to be targeting and using more often. I really like Barner. He was like I said, he was a big piece last year, and I think he's going to be an even bigger piece this year. So he had 506. He might have like 600 to 700 yards, maybe eight touchdowns this year. I think he's going to progressively get a little bit better.
Okay. I mean, somebody's going to get involved. It's either Cup, it's Barner, it's Shaheed. I think they're gonna because again, I think JSN is going to be bracketed. I think teams are going to, really focus on JSN because I think the biggest thing last year and why I faded him last year was I actually thought Cooper Cup was going to be the JSN guy after his time in St. Louis, or excuse me, in LA with the Rams. Um, I just thought that was gonna be him, but JSN was the guy who did it. I think that a lot of those targets and a lot of that is gonna go towards, I think, Barner or to those other guys, and it is gonna make it proven. So I actually do like that stash right there. Who you got number four?
Number four, our big poppy isn't going to like this one because he doesn't like guys on shitty teams, but Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright, because HN has injury problems. We all know. I have HN like every year. And every year I know at some point I'm going to have to plan for his injury. So they're going to need Jalen Wright will end up being that number two back. And they've got a new coaching staff down there. And so they're probably going to want to use someone else other than the same guys, especially the same guy who keeps getting hurt. And he's just going to be a good handcuff guy towards the end of the year. So if you want to grab him now, hold on to him. I think that maybe by midseason, late towards the playoffs, Jalen Wright could be a big difference maker.
How you feel about that, Steve?
Yeah, I know. I think they had another guy there. I'm not too like up to date on the Miami Dolphins backfield, but didn't they have Ollie Gordon? Is Ollie Gordon
He's
competing
still
with
there.
Wright, or
Yeah, he's
is
still
he the
there, but
three?
I think I'm zoning in on Jalen Wright. Ollie Gordon has
Okay.
had chances before. He hasn't seized anything. So I'm
Yeah.
going off of that.
Yeah, I think Jalen Wright had the third spot last year. But so okay, I see. Yeah, because Golly Gordon didn't do much with the second role last year. So I could see Jalen Wright doing something. I think Schlong,
It's all
the
right.
corner,
Just go with it. Just
the
go with
big
it.
boss man
Big
had
boss man.
Jalen Wright last year, right?
I did, and he was somebody I would add and drop and add and drop. It was very painful for him. I was actually very high on him as a rookie because of the Achane thing. And if you think about it, it's the way you look at it, especially for those backup running backs. It's not about who the number two guy is, because the number one guy and the number two guy have two different skill sets. Think of, let's use the Lions. David Montgomery from last year and Gibbs. They both were great, both skill had great skill sets, but Gibbs was that receiving guy. Montgomery was more of that right up the tackle. There was
Inside
two
the
different. That's why
tackles.
they were
Yeah.
Sonic and Knuckles, and they were great. And in Miami, Ollie Gordon is always going to be the number two guy. No matter what happens, Ollie Gordon's the number two guy because he's that different play style completely from Achan, where Jalen Wright is the Achan guy. So if Achan does go down, Jalen Wright does pick it up. I actually like that stash. I'm very high on Achan this year personally, but
Big
until
boss
then.
man taking notes. Gonna steal all the stashes.
Who you got for number three?
Number three. Here's one
Or
you may
yeah, three.
Jordan James. Because we all know CMC, he's like Achan. He's always going to get hurt. It's not if, it's when. And I think at some point he's going to start to slow down a little bit. He's one of those guys. He's not as bad as like a Cam Scatterbo, but he does get hit a lot every time he gets a ball. Um, and I like him as a handcuff, and for the same reason I like Jalen Wright. Middle of the year, later towards the playoff time, he could prove that he's worth that early draft pickup and hold.
Okay, I have to burst your bubble on this one, and I need to find it to make sure I got this correct. Um, but actually, Jordan James actually went
He got
down
cut.
with a rib injury today
Today,
in
what
practice.
what is this?
It's because they're next to the electrical circuits there in Santa Clara. But no, I
A rib
100%.
injury, he should be fine by the time
I don't
the time
trust.
comes.
You can't trust any San Francisco running back because Shanahan, who is dealing with his own car crash and injuries at this moment, just they just run running backs ragged, and this is why I'm actually high on Achan, and one of my fades who I didn't make the list because it's so easy is CMC. I feel like everybody fades him every year, but Achan and CMC are the same exact players, just two different teams. And Achan is that CMC like kind of guy. So if you want to take a risk between CMC and Achan, you take Achan on that one. But no, I mean, with the amount of touches CMC had last year alone, they can't do it. He is going to get injured at some point, and he is in his 30s now, where running backs do start falling off. So I agree. I think we may have to revisit this as the severity of his injury does come out. But yeah, we'll pivot back to that sleeper later on, Joe. Who you got at number two?
You want me to replace him right off the cuff here? Well,
Go
I'll
ahead,
throw out
replace him right off the cuff.
Patrick Mahomes.
I
Patrick
like
Mahomes.
Mahomes.
And I'll tell
That
you
I
why, because fantasy wise, he's really isn't historically the guy that puts up giant numbers. But I think that he might have an exception this year. He has a very good running back that people will have to respect.
Hmm.
He's going to have guys coming back who are healthy. Yeah, he still has Travis Kelce and he's old, but he knows how to play with Mahomes. And Mahomes, I think, is just due. He's just due for a really, really big season. I think he may be a sleeper to win MVP. I know that sounds funny because it's Patrick Mahomes, but I think he may be. And I think if there was a QB to reach for this year, would be Patrick Mahomes.
I
Yeah,
agree with
I can
that.
agree with that. Mahomes is a fucking stud. There's no denying that. And I think that the addition of Walker is going to be a bigger deal than people think. Mahomes didn't have that support of a really good running back for the last
Hmm.
few years, and now that he has that, and teams got to be honest on defense, I think he's going to do good. I think he's going to be back to the old Patty Mahomes.
I absolutely agree on that one. I think I'm getting a weird vibe that this Kansas City team is going to be that Patriots team of 0708 of after Deflategate, and they're just going to be very angry, and they just need to prove a point that they are who they are. Now, I don't think they're going to go undefeated all the way through, especially when they're going to have tough competition this year, especially within the division with Denver. Oakland, you can't even sleep on. I feel like Oakland, because it is division, anything can happen. And let's not forget the Chargers, because that team is absolutely stacked as well. And they have their entire offensive line back healthy, which was a big issue for them last year, why they couldn't really do anything. But yeah, I like Mahomes. I don't think he's much of a sleeper. Um, but I think people are fading him. But I think he's going to be one of those guys that are going to prove people wrong on that one. All right, so I like that number. I'll take that number 3 replacement over Jordan. Who you got at number 2, Joe?
Number two, we've mentioned him quite a few times, or more specifically, our Big Poppy has mentioned him already. Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney, I like. He's the only guy in the Giants I like. The only guy. Why? Because I just completely dislike Neighbors. They don't have anyone else to really throw the ball to, and they have to throw it. And Darnell Mooney has proven to be a really, really good asset, especially on bad teams. Now, Darnell Mooney has had 900 plus yards, I think, over the last 2 seasons. And I just think the way the Giants are going to need to throw the ball down the field because they're going to be playing from behind a lot. I like Mooney a lot.
Okay. Steve, as our resident Mooney fanatic here, how do you feel about this as a sleeper?
Yeah, I've been a fan of Mooney for a couple years. He's been proven on the Bears and the Falcons, and he doesn't get a lot of love for some reason. He kind of like flies under the radar, and nobody like really gives him any attention. I guess because he's never like the number one wide receiver, but he's shown that he can catch the deep ball well and make big plays. So, yeah, I like Mooney.
He also can show how he can drop the ball very well on
Well,
those
so
deep
is
balls.
Slayton.
Well,
Slayton can
yes,
drop it plenty
and
of
so
stuff.
it's basically one's getting paid and one's not. Trust me, I didn't like bringing Slayton back personally. I think that was a waste. I'd rather have Wandell, but that's just me. All right, Joe, who's your number one sleeper this year, or stash guy?
The number one, I think most people are going to probably disagree with this, but I like him. I think he might be good to have at the end of the season, especially when some QBs go down, is Tua. I think Tua is going to be end up being the QB in Atlanta. I know they just picked up Cooper Rush. What was it, today or yesterday or something? So they have a
Would you
third.
like to know why?
Uh,
Who is
don't tell
hurt?
me Tua's now
Tua's
hurt.
hurt. Tua Tua is
You know
hurt.
what? Hold up, hold up. This, I like I said, later in the year. Later in the year, their Tua is good. Listen, I like Tua with the combination of Bijan on the field. Just the same way I like Tua and Achan, except Bijan is a better Achan. I just liked that combination. And I think if they put him out there, they're going to put up points. Again, he may not be playing week one, and I know he's got competition, but I think he's a good stash guy, someone who can, at the end of the year, just wake up and then give you some good weeks.
Well, that's the problem. Now, I like Tua, and I mentioned Tua last week, and I do like it. I guess it's really how that QB situation is going to play out, because at the same point, you have Tua, who's a veteran, and you have Michael Penix. They drafted Michael Penix very high. At some point, they got to see what their rookie quarterback, or not rookie anymore, but their high draft pick quarterback either can make it or can't. So I like Tua. I think, as I mentioned last week, I think if Tua's great plays, him and Pitts and by extension Bijan are going to do well. I think Drake London gets affected by that one because Tua can't throw deep balls, which Drake does. At the same time, it's so I would be more Tua in the beginning of the season versus Tua at the end of the season because of the Penix factor in that.
You know
But
what?
that's me
Shout out,
personally.
shout out to Michael Penix. He was my QB when I won 2 years ago, filling in for an injured Jalen Hurts. Thank you,
Or was
Penix.
it?
Yeah,
Penix
he
was in
was.
college.
Penix was my starting quarterback when I won.
I don't know about that, and we can't really look at the
Yeah,
league
yeah,
anymore
yeah,
to
yeah.
check.
Yes, he was.
He's got to know he won the championship.
I won the championship.
I don't know.
If you remember, all the quarterbacks were getting plucked up purposely, and the only guy I could really run out there
Probably
was Michael
Gordon
Penix.
was behind
Yeah,
that.
It
and
was
so the other guy
Gordon
run
and
out there,
his Imagibot.
and so basically, I think I was like up by 9 or something. Or, no, I was up by more than that. Like basically, he needed to get like -9 for me to lose,
Wait,
and I
who were you playing in the championship?
He was playing
like
Gordon.
yeah,
Oh shit.
and I think Penix put up like 7 points.
Oh man.
Thank you, Michael.
That's
Wait,
horrible.
so thank you, Joe, because you prevented a back-to-back championship,
To
right?
back.
Back to back to back.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Again, we're not going to involve the controversy of that league. That league is dead to us. That league is dead and gone. There was a lot of controversy that came out at the end or during that particular season that brought a lot of things into question, which is why we kind of kicked
Oh,
him
oh, you mean
out.
when he
Slash,
got
he decided to leave because
CD
he's like,
Lamb
I
for
got nothing to prove.
No,
you mean when he got CD Lamb for what's his name, the running back who retired the same year?
That was such a scam
Ezekiel
pick.
Elliott?
No, he got Ezekiel Elliott and Marvin Harrison Jr. for CeeDee Lamb, like right before the season started. It was a bullshit, and it was
That was the
with
most bullshit shit. All right, just
which was
forget
with a
about it.
player or a member
let's
who,
stay on track. It's
yeah.
Tua. Tua is the sleeper, not Penix.
Either way,
I
well,
totally
I
disagree with
disagreed
Joe
because
on
of my
this one,
reasons on that.
but
But yeah, let's not go
we'll
on the
see how it
tangent of the
plays
other
out.
league. We can talk about that controversy. I think that would be a great segment to talk about that league controversy um, during another time to revisit. And maybe at the end of the season, not during the season. We got bigger things to worry about, and especially helping you guys get ready for your drafts coming up and, our drafts. So this is the end. We kind of went a little longer than we normally do or want to normally do on this one. Steve, Joe, do you guys have any final thoughts? Any remarks about, how you feel about the fades, the six, any of that stuff?
No, no, I got nothing really. I mean, I agreed with a lot of Joe's picks on his six, but vehemently disagree with his number one pick. I don't think two is going to do much this year. In fact, I just hope and pray that he's okay at the end of the season.
Yes, we all wish that. Absolutely.
Any final comment, Joe?
No. No, man.
Okay.
I'm good
Well,
here.
that's it for this corner, guys. Thank you. Again, hit the like, hit subscribe. Definitely get the word out there for this one. And Joe, Steve, I will see both of you guys next week, and I'm looking forward to that. So have a good evening, gentlemen.
Peace.
Good night.